Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast. My name is Kevin Henry. I'm not only honored to be the host of this podcast, but also honored to be the editor-in-chief for drbicuspid.com. I'm thrilled today to be talking about this upcoming Chicago Midwinter meeting. We're going to talk about all the things the Chicago Dental Society is doing to make it a success, like it always is, let's be honest. And with that in mind, we're going to be talking to Heather Nash of the Chicago Dental Society. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Kevin?
Doing great. Thanks for being on. And then I'm excited to have Dr. Denise Hale, who is the chair of the 2025 Midwinter meeting. Dr. Hale, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Well, glad to have you both on. And before we dive into all things Midwinter, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and your background. So Heather, could I have you start?
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, my name is Heather Nash. I joined the Chicago Dental Society about a year and a half ago as the new CEO here, coming on the tails of a very long tenured predecessor for Dr. Randy Grove for about 30 years. So longstanding history. My background is really 30 plus years in the event management and hospitality and organizational management. So coming to Chicago Dental Society about a year and a half was really an honor, knowing that I am a part of this great legacy that exists here in Chicago.
Dr. Hale, how about you?
Well, I'll be the president of the Chicago Dental Society for 2025. I've been a practicing dentist since 1988. I've also a full-time faculty member here at the University of Illinois College of Dentistry. And somehow I'm managing to still practice in my office. So at my retirement age, I am now working 6 days a week.
And making time for podcasts, which we really appreciate.
Always time. I never say no.
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate that. Heather, I'm going to go back to you if that's okay. You know, as you said, you stepped into Dr. Grove's role and you've now been through your first Midwinter. I'm wondering, what was your experience like kind of gaining this knowledge of what Midwinter is and what excites you most about the Chicago Midwinter meeting?
Well, I'll tell you, coming off of the first Midwinter in 2024 was really just an amazing opportunity to really see why the Midwinter meeting is truly the premier scientific event in the country. Really, you know, additionally, we really, I think, engage our volunteers, our leaders to create this fantastic program that really brings, you know, close to 25,000 people together in Chicago in February. But, you know, I think there's something that also wouldn't, you know, I would be remiss in saying that, you know, after really experiencing Midwinter last year, you know, the exhibit floor astounds me every, you know, when I see the numbers walking in there and the sheer size of it. I really recognize why this is a premier event. So not only just Class A scientific programming, you know, we are bringing the members and colleagues together to network in this just fantastic location in Chicago. You know, last year we were fortunate to have, I think, close to 60, 70 degree weather in February. That's not always the case, but I will tell you this, it is the premier event and I witnessed it. Kevin, I would also like to say that, you know, I think, you know, Midwinter also brings such a brand integrity. And I think when people listen and hear the name Chicago Dental Society and the Midwinter meeting, they align that with just Class A and top notch. And I'm just proud to be part of that. So what you said I'm excited for, I'm excited for year number 2.
Well, I know the dental trade is excited for year number 2 under your reign as well. And that's where I'm going to ask you, Dr. Hale, give us some insight into 2025. What can those attending Chicago Midwinter expect? And maybe what excites you the most about the Midwinter meeting?
Well, I always think of it as a shopping experience. I love to go on the exhibit floor and I call it my shopping time. And I probably should really leave my credit card at home because I really spend a lot when I go on that floor. But, you know, just to play back a little what Heather said about, you know, coming off of COVID, when we were, you know, virtual and other meetings were hybrid, and I talked to exhibitors as I scouted different dental meetings, not only in the United States, but in Canada, those exhibitors did not want to participate if it was going to be a hybrid, because they know that dentists, we want to feel things. We want to see things. We want to touch it. We want to sit in the dental chair. We want to pick up the handpiece. We want to see how the material works. Is it user-friendly? We don't like to buy things off of the cloud, whatever. We want to be at the meeting. And it's not only about going around and seeing the exhibitors and experiencing the energy that's in the room, but it's also seeing your colleagues, seeing your friends. And I mean, I like to find my vendors, and I like to, go over there and say hi to them, because sometimes I don't see them in person. I'm communicating with them on an email, and it's really nice to attach a face to the person. Mm-hmm. And I just think that we have a lot of good things. We are trying to drive more traffic through our convention floor, our exhibit floor, because, we know that it's important for the exhibitors, and the exhibitors are very important to us. I mean, they are our nucleus, and we really need them to be there and present. And I mean, we put our redemption booth, whatever, is at the back of the exhibit hall, because if they register before January, they get a rebate, but they have to use it for something they've purchased on the floor. So they'll go to the exhibit hall, they'll buy something, and then they have to go to the back of the hall. So it brings them, sort of creates that flow throughout the hall. We also have some events on the exhibit floor. We have sips, suds, and sales. That's wine and beer. People tend to buy a little more when they have a few cocktails. So, and that's always really fun. And it keeps everybody there, and it keeps them engaged. We're also going to do the popcorn. I think we came up with that one, Pop In, and it's going to be
Pop In on
Garrett's
Thursday.
popcorn, which if you've not had Garrett's, is very good popcorn.
Can't argue that, for sure.
Yeah. So we have a lot of things, we respect our exhibitors. We care about our exhibitors. We want them to walk away from our meeting and saying, this is the best, trade show dental meeting I've ever been to. And I will tell you, there are lots of exhibitors, and I see them all around, who say, oh, I would love to come to Midwinter, but they might be a smaller company, and they're a little concerned about, well, it's February in Chicago. And you know what I always tell them, especially when I was in Vegas? I said, look, you see how no one's on the convention floor? They're all in the casino. When you come to Chicago in February, there is nothing to do but come to that convention. And we have great restaurants at night, and we have nice nightlife, so they go out at night, but they're on the floor during the day. And they're there, and we stagger our classes so that they have time to go to our floor. We do everything we can to make it a great experience for our vendors.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. And being there as an exhibitor and being there as an attendee, I see that firsthand. I'm going to ask you, Dr. Hale, just a quick question about your shopping time, if that's all right, because I'd love the dentist's insight. What draws you into a booth? I think our exhibitor listeners would love to know what catches your attention, and why do you stop in to check out a product?
If I go into a booth and nobody bothers to come up to me and say hi, or can I help you with anything, that's a big turnoff. And that has happened to me on some booths. I won't say which ones. And then there's been other booths where the exhibitors look like they're ready to fall asleep. And it's like, you got to be engaging too. I mean, if you want to get that person to come over and see what you have to offer. And I think that's important, and the other thing that I think kind of engages me as well is, I want to see new products. I want to see something new, like, well, maybe I would like to get that, but let me go over to that booth and let me see what that's all about, because I maybe don't know, and I don't want to order it off the catalog.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Heather, let me ask your opinion on something, because I know dental meetings, as you and Dr. Hale both said, it's about working with the exhibitors. How have you, as the CEO, found the working with exhibitors with Chicago and making sure that their concerns are heard and maybe implemented for the next year?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the Midwinter meeting wouldn't be the same without our exhibitors. And I think that, we are honored to host well over 400 exhibiting companies. Currently, we've got about 1,100 booths. We still are selling daily. So what I will say, what's very important is, as we approach our relationship with each exhibitor, we want to make sure that we are meeting their return on investment. It's really important that, we are engaging them to understand what objective they need to meet. what is it that we can do to help them meet their objectives? As Dr. Hale said, it is really important to drive our teams, our dental teams together, and walk the floor together and really engage those exhibiting companies. And so I do think that is a key to it. The second thing I would say is it is really critically important for us at the end of a show as a CEO that we evaluate. We talk to them. How did it go for you? What can we do better? And this is a partnership. It's a relationship that we really, I think we prioritize it because it would not be the Midwinter meeting without our exhibitors. And the great thing is that when we do these post-event surveys, we are walking away with well over, very good to excellent ratings from our exhibitors. They have already committed to coming back to us the next year. And Dr. Hale mentioned, post-pandemic, I think because we're approaching that caring relationship and partnership with our exhibitors, they are continuing to commit to Midwinter meeting. And so we are seeing that year-over-year growth come back from post-pandemic, which is so important to us. So I think it is really just the care that we put into talking to them in our communication.
We also,
please. No, please.
I was just going to say, we also, for the exhibitors, we can put things out on our social media as well, to get their name out there and what their products are, and on our CDS Midwinter Meeting app.
Dr. Hill, let me ask you a question. As you started planning for this year's meeting, what went into the education side of things, making sure there was something there for the doctors as well as those team members that you mentioned are so important to everybody come together to the meeting?
Yeah. So when I was scouting, the thing that I actually personally like the most are the workshops. I think the workshops are awesome. As a matter of fact, when I retire, I'm going to take a whole bunch of workshops, things I'm never going to do, but I want to just take them. So we tried to plan more workshops, and we also made sure that we had the materials and the hand pieces that the doctors would be needing to use those courses. We didn't really want people sharing hand pieces. We wanted them to all be able to work independently. And, and I think the other thing is that we realize that a lot of staff come, the hygienists come. So we've added a luncheon, a smile luncheon for the hygienists. It's more going to be like a networking or a meet and greet kind of thing for them. It's going to go, I think, a couple of hours, and they can kind of come and go and then, network with each other and that. And I think that that's super important because, as much as the dentist is the head of the team, we couldn't do anything without our staff. And the more our staff understands that, the better they're educated and knowledge of their job, the easier our job is. Trust me, I know this.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kevin, if I could add on to that, I think two things that are really important in building this premier event. We do, and as Dr. Hale mentioned, we bring over 240 sessions to this program. I think that is a testament to the programming that we are providing across all disciplines of dentistry. But we're very mindful of the time that our exhibitors need on the floor. And so I think there's a real mindful attention paid with, here's the programming, but here's the hours that we provide you to walk the floor and to make sure that you've got plenty of time over those 3 days. And so the mindfulness is there to make sure that we do drive as much traffic and also balance that is a scientific program. So I think really meeting the needs of everybody. And so I think that's an important note, just how important that is.
I know we're still weeks away from Midwinter, but I know the buzz is already building in the dental industry about coming to Chicago.
Yeah.
And so, Heather, would you mind just giving us, what's a website, what's a way that people can make sure that they've got all things Midwinter related?
Absolutely. Well, you can drive right to cds.org. We've got our Midwinter meeting straight front and center on the page. You can register starting November 1st, which is Friday.
There you go.
So we are ready to take in all the registrations, and come see us in Chicago in February.
Well, as you said earlier, February in Chicago, whenever you get people to come there and be excited about it, you all have done an amazing thing. So congratulations. That.
Although, Kevin, we really don't want a snowstorm, though.
No, I'm not arguing that. Trust me.
We start praying now.
Well, I think
That's
all the
right.
exhibitors will join in with you on that one, no doubt about it. So,
Right.
We
Heather,
know they will.
Dr. Denise Hale, thank you both so much for the time today. I really do appreciate
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks
Thank
very
you so much, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
it. Absolutely. And thanks to all of you who listen to this episode of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast. Absolutely. We know Chicago Midwinter is part of the fabric of the dental industry, and this is a great insight into what to expect this coming February. Till next time, it's Kevin Henry, the host of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast and editor-in-chief for Dr. Bicuspid, signing off and wishing you nothing but success ahead.